Welcome back to Crowd Control, where we control all the crowdfunding.
Yeah, we have control of it.
There's too much crowdfunding to
We're
control.
the behind-the-scenes manipulators of which campaigns actually fund. No.
We're the puppet masters. We're the dark web behind all of Crowd Control.
But what we really are is just two people that like games, and we want to talk about some of the campaigns that we think are interesting. Talk about some of the big moments in crowdfunding, because June is a huge month for crowdfunding, and this week is no exception to that at all.
It has been big, and we're going to talk about a few. Some of these will actually have other content and coverage on the channel, some of which we don't. We do like to try to focus on what we're not otherwise focusing on the channel. However, sometimes they're going to overlap.
Well, yeah, that's a real thing. Just for transparency's sake, sometimes publishers, sponsor us to do preview videos or overview videos or whatever. We do try to avoid talking about those on this channel. However, this week there are two huge ones that we just happen to also cover, but I think it would be silly not to mention them. The first one is Phantom Epoch. This is a giant campaign narrative game set in almost like a Mass Effect style universe.
Yeah, if you're looking for the love child between Mass Effect, the video game, and say like a Gloomhaven-esque board game, Phantom Epoch definitely promises to be that. We had a prototype that only had sort of like a little bit of the content included.
The first couple missions.
So we played through the tutorial and a little bit beyond that. We even stopped shy of like playing against the first boss.
Well, it's a big game. It's hours before you fight the first boss.
But
there's a lot of content.
So this is a big campaign game, sci-fi universe. Think very much thematically like Mass Effect. If you're not familiar with Mass Effect, this is sort of a sci-fi epic where you've got a crew and you're sort of expanding that. Although I don't think you're expanding your crew in this.
I mean, you kind of are. You get to play as these characters, and it does feel a little bit like that Gloomhaven progression system. You can like meet new people and get new classes introduced into your ship, and you can upgrade your ship over the course of the game. Plus, you're making these narrative decisions that are kind of going to affect the fates of the planets that you're interacting with, which is pretty interesting too.
Yeah, Phantom Epoch, check that out for sure. The next one we wanted to talk about is Paragon's Age of Champions.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to let Ryan talk mostly about this because it's definitely in his wheelhouse, but I do want to say a couple things. This is a trading card game in a box.
It's almost like the LCG model, similar to the LCG model.
But one of the things it sounds like they wanted to set out to do is create that experience without having to go through the process of like buying stuff and hoping to get what you want to get.
Right.
Like they're going to give you everything you need to play big tournament even style level trading card game.
Yeah, this one is interesting for a couple reasons. I mean, first of all, this is in my wheelhouse. The game does look very good. The art style looks fantastic. The gameplay looks like a lot of fun. But I do want to talk about this because they actually launched on Kickstarter a few years ago, and they had an original campaign.
Yeah, they closed that campaign late last year, actually.
And this is their follow-up campaign. However, they did promise that they would have fulfilled the first campaign before the second campaign launched on GameFound this week.
Yeah, so
I'm hoping that that's the case, so that fulfillment is at least happening.
I don't know if it has.
I don't know.
I checked that campaign. It doesn't look like fulfillment has happened, but it does seem like it's very close. I don't know. That may affect this launch.
Well,
you might be watching this and going, oh, wait a minute, this isn't launching this week, because they may have pushed it out.
And that's why I mentioned this one. I think this is worth talking about. It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on it, because this does seem like, what they really want is like tournament level play. They want a lot of people playing it. They want people bringing it to their game stores and like building an ecosystem around this game. I don't know. That's a very lofty goal.
It is a lofty goal.
Considering that I don't think the first one is even delivered, so who knows what the reception is going to be by the public. But it just looks so good. It does look good.
It does look good. It's not
I'm suckered in a little bit.
It's not my kind of game, but the artwork looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like it looks like a really well illustrated
They
game.
had one guy do the art for the entire project, which is a huge ask, but it does lead to a very unified looking card game. Unlike some CCGs, which you have art styles that are all over the place, it does have a very unified look. And the gameplay looks very solid. There's some deck building elements. There's some almost like Magic 1v1 kind of elements mixed in. So it looks like it's going to appeal to TCG players. I just really hope they follow through on all their promises.
And I think it sounds like they will. As I was looking in updates of their Kickstarter campaign, they've been incredibly transparent. It seems like they've been very forthcoming all along the way with the people who've backed them. So we'll see how that goes.
The next one, is another one that we're going to be having some content on the channel this week, but this is worth covering multiple times. This is Stalker, the next game from Awakened Realms. I mean, that's it. That's all I have to say, and I think people are going to hit that back button.
It's Stalker. If you don't know Stalker, by the way, it is a video game set in sort of with the backdrop of a post-apocalyptic Chernobyl. Yeah. There's mutants. There's all sorts of crazy things. This is a giant co-op/solo campaign experience that, miniatures, big areas to explore, lots of ongoing upgrading and customization.
Incredibly thematic to the world of Stalker. This it's almost like that Fallout-esque. You're just trying to survive. You're literally out there scavenging for materials within this area, trying to avoid fights maybe, or equip yourself so that you can handle some of these fights. It's not necessarily a game where you're just running out there just killing everything. It's a game about smart decisions and trying to make the most out of what you've got. And I think out of all the publishers out there, Awakened Realms might be one of the most equipped to handle a game like this.
Yeah, the subject or the source material is very bleak, I think would be a good way to put it. I think that's a good way to say it, yeah. And grim. Yeah. And I think from what we've seen of it thus far, it looks to capture that. But like we said, we have some other content, so if you want to learn even more about it, definitely check that out.
We were given a prototype, which was very cool, and you'll see some of the cool stuff that we got along with that prototype in the video.
They sent a pretty crazy package. Yeah,
they were making an impression. But yeah, from what we've seen in the prototype, very thematic, very, very thematic looking.
And this week we also have Chris George from Room and Board here to share a game. If you've not checked out his channel, by the way, you've got to check it out. We were just watching. He does a lot of videos. He does a lot of crowdfunding videos, so you probably already know who he is. But there's one video in particular on his channel you got to check out called Geeks and Geeks.
We'll link that in the description
below. We will
below.
Definitely link that in the description
below.
It's
hilarious.
Check it out.
It's a great video.
Here he is with one of the campaigns he's looking for.
Hi, Man vs. Meeple audience. It's me, Chris George from Room and Board. I only have a minute, so I'm going to tell you about my pick of the week, or my spotlight of the week, for crowdfunding, and that's this game called Sigil. This is a two-player battle in a dueling game, and it feels like a really nice addition to the abstract genre from a small, independent publisher. The basic premise is you're going to try to get more marbles on the board than your opponent, and when you put a marble down and you surround an opponent, that marble is obliterated from existence. This is one which I think was a lovely surprise. Every week I also do a show on Room and Board covering everything leaving crowdfunding that week. And I look at everything, and this is one where I looked at it and I said, okay, I think this is going to be cut. And it's a perfect example of not judging a book by its cover, because I think it looks very elegant, a really neat concept with the addition of these spell sectors. You can see these circles. If you populate all of the areas in a circle, you get to activate that spell and do a special thing on the board. So a lot of moving parts. That's my hidden gem pick that I figured I'd bring to Man vs. Meeple this week. So thanks for having me on, and back to the crew. The Man vs. Meeple crew, not the game. Not the game, the crew. Yeah.
What an honor to have Chris on the channel. Yeah. Such a talented guy that can do so much stuff.
I wish I could sing like he does.
I wish I could
rap anyway like he does.
I very much do. So we're going to transition into talking about some games that are already running. These games have attracted some really positive attention over the past week.
Yeah, one that's kind of interesting is, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this exactly correctly, but I think it's Souci. Yeah, I believe that's French. Oh. It is a location. This is a reprint, effectively.
It's Kiesling, right?
Of an older game that someone turned me on to a few years back. I had never played it. They recommended it. I played it. I was like, what a wonderful and delightful little game. It's a tile placement game. I want to say it's been a minute, so I think it's tile drafting, but you're placing tiles in this garden and building it out, trickling down from the top of your board down to the bottom. It's got some really interesting decisions going on. The interesting thing about this campaign, to me anyway, is it is effectively a reprint.
Well, yeah, it's a very simple reprint campaign.
It's in a weird way a little refreshing. It's not like this crazy big deluxified version of Souci. It is just a reprint of the game. Now, I think it is from a new publisher now that has picked it up. But effectively, and I want to say it's going for like $40.
Yeah, and which is great because it's been out of print for a while, so it's been hard to find. So that's a steal almost.
It's a nice little Euro game, very accessible, very light. You should give it a go. I think the other pledge levels are literally just more copies of it, so it's probably just for retailers. Or like if you want to get 2 copies, you can give one to a friend. But
very simple campaign.
Definitely check that campaign out.
I like seeing that simple campaign.
It is nice.
All right, and then the last one I want to talk about is Stroganov. This game is getting an expansion called Paragon, but more than that, I want to point out that this is really cool. When Stroganov came out, I think a lot of backers were disappointed. They were disappointed by the quality of the components, the cards, the cardboard chits, the storage system, a lot of that stuff. People loved playing the game, but they went online and expressed their displeasure. And Game Brewer was definitely listening.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is almost, I don't know if I want to say almost unheard of, but this is, maybe it is, but they are basically reprinting a lot of the components from the base game and putting them into a new big box with storage system. And what's crazy here is that you're getting the expansion. So if you just want the expansion, which looks to add a bunch of new content, it's $30.
Yeah.
If you want the expansion plus the replacement cards, the replacement tokens, and the replacement box with storage system, it's $35.
Really?
So you're paying $5 more.
That includes all of that?
That
Are you
includes
sure?
all of, yep, that includes all of the reprinted stuff.
Because there's the third level.
Well, there is a third level, and that's for people that don't have any of it. The third level is to get all of the game, the new version of the game, with all the updated stuff included already, plus the big box, plus the expansion, and that's closer to like $100, which the game is big. I mean, the base people paid a lot of money for that base game.
Yeah,
so.
I would say, with all of that said, I have punched the original version of Stroganov, and it is, like, I didn't find it to be bad. I think what happened was that people had, was it Gugong? That
when you're looking at like Gugong and Penjun, and they've done some other games that have been very well produced. This was definitely the least well produced of their games. I mean, that still makes it better than some.
Exactly.
But it was their least, and they recognize that, and they actually have a very thoughtful message, I thought, on the Kickstarter campaign where they're like, hey, we know people weren't happy, so that's why they're doing this. That's why they're doing the reprinted cardboard sheets.
And they made it very accessible from a cost standpoint. It's not much at all.
No, it's not much at all to get if
amazing.
you already own the base game.
It sounds like everyone's pretty, the reaction to it has been pretty positive.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Far.
I mean, this is them admitting a mistake and fixing it. I'd love to see more of this kind of thing in the crowdfunding world.
Yeah. So that is what is happening, what happened, what is about to happen in crowdfunding. If you have any questions at all, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there and talk with you about all of it. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.